Hi, Evie.
Hi, Degrassi Kid. Hi,
Hi,
Degrassi
Evie
Kid.
Cassini. How's your day going
Hello.
today?
My day is going pretty good. Welcome back to Degrassi School's End.
I am always happy to be here, and I have brought something pretty cool with me today.
I am very glad. I'm very excited to get into it. We have some planning documents once again to get into.
Yes, you and I went to the Toronto Archives where we got to go through boxes and boxes of scripts and outlines and episode changes. And you and I have found an outline for the episode Best Laid Plans, which we're talking about today, from April 18th, 1986, a year before the episode was made. And it's actually a completely different episode.
It's very similar to with the last episode that we did, which was Rumor Has It, where, yeah, it was just like a completely different episode. Different characters are involved. It's very fun to see this like completely alternate universe. I'm very excited to get into it.
Me too. Do you want to dive right in with me?
Yeah, I do. Let's start it off. Yeah, so like you said, this was from 1986, which is a year before the episode aired, April
Yep.
18th to be exact, which is, we're coming up on that almost at this point. So that's, I can't do math. How many years ago was 1986?
Um, I can't do math, but my calculator can. And then once it tells me the answer, I'm going to be so embarrassed. But 1986 was actually 38 years ago. Holy shit.
That's a long time ago.
That is a
So
long time
yeah,
ago. We weren't alive yet.
I was gonna say that's like both of our ages combined. That's not true.
That's even
Um,
worse math, Evie. That's worse
that's
math.
I'm
Let's get into the
very
episode.
okay. As I say, I'm very good at some things. Math is not one of them. Let's get into it. A fun thing about these episode outlines is that they start off with something called a unifying theme, which is basically something that ties all of the plot lines together and that's seen throughout the episode. And the unifying theme for this episode is bragging, which it's an interesting one to be like the what do you think about that? What do you think
It
about
wasn't it wasn't what I would have expected the
no?
theme to be.
That's exactly what I'm saying. Like I that's an interesting choice. And would you say in the episode that we ended up seeing was that like a big theme? I don't
I
feel like it
don't know.
was.
Like I do think like the bragger in this situation really is Joey. Like he's kind of bragging on behalf of Wheels, which when we read through this, we'll see that Joey's actually
That's
kind of the star of this episode. So I'm
yeah.
wondering if, I think it does make sense that through Joey's lens, this type of thing would be really about bragging because he's always bragging about his sexcapades. One of my favorite
That
Joey Jeremiah quotes that you'll hear in the future is, "Chicks are like aspirin. I take two and go to bed," despite the fact that he's a 14-year-old virgin who can't talk to girls. So
that
I think this episode through his eyes would be about bragging.
Yeah, I think that's very interesting. And we haven't gotten into it yet, but I will tease that this episode instead, like we said, it's focusing on a different character. We'll get
Mhm.
into it more, but yeah, I do. And the character is not Wheels. It's not Stephanie. It is Joey Jeremiah. So I do think that's an interesting point that if we're seeing it through Joey's lens, like bragging, that is very much a Joey.
Mhm.
That's his point of view. That's him. Because in the episode that we end up seeing, Joey is a very like ancillary character. He's not in the forefront, so that makes sense why the bragging is not really a factor. It's a tiny little factor. But for this one, like I said, we're about to get into it and see how the episode differed with Joey being more involved. So
Mhm.
let's get into it. What were you gonna say? Sorry.
Something that's really fun about this outline too is after unifying theme, it lists out the issues that they want to talk about in this episode, which are birth control, sex, peer pressure, reputations, and dating, which I think is 100% a bang
Yeah.
on little summary of the episode.
Yeah.
That's still all the same.
The unifying theme felt a little bit less unifying, which is it doesn't unifying to me feels like it like encapsulates everything. And for me that word just does not encapsulate the episode. The issues really does encapsulate it very well. Like that is what we're talking about today.
Yeah, it's
So
interesting how they kind of start with it, like the base plan doesn't change because we'll see through a lot of these things that we go through. The overlying issue is always kind of the same, but it's who is going to get the storyline and what's going on with them. So
yeah.
I am also a question that I would be curious about too is I'm not sure why a lot of these storylines changed, but after casting happens, I have to assume that once you kind of see who the kids are and how they embody the character, that maybe that plays a factor in how you tell these stories and who gets chosen for them.
Yeah, I kind of see it as like accessorizing an outfit, like putting an outfit. You see an outfit on like a mannequin or whatever, and it's different than putting it on the actual person and then adding those accessories and adding those little different details based on how the outfit or character in that sense fits the actor or the person wearing the character, if that makes sense.
100%. I like
Yeah.
that.
So yeah, putting like different accessories are going to different character traits, different things are going to accentuate different on different characters or different actors. So yeah, I think
100%.
okay,
What do you
let's
think
get
about
into
getting into the plot?
yeah, let's get into the plot. We were both on the same page on that. Did you want to read
I
the
love
plot
it.
for us?
Well, what's funny is we literally are on the same page because the plot is on this
We are.
page.
It is.
I will read the first part of the plot for us for Best Laid Plans, Joey Jeremiah version. Stephanie accepts Joey's invitation to go to a movie. Both are very excited. They've been flirting and trying to get together for a long time. It'll be the evening of a lifetime. Already, what's interesting is that in the show, it's very kind of clear that Stephanie isn't necessarily all that interested in Joey. She's interested in Wheel. So it would have been interesting to see after Kiss Me Steph, would that have kind of continued on as a little romance throughout the season?
Yeah, this seems to be in the timeline where they had originally planned Joey and Stephanie to have a pregnancy plot line. So
Hmm.
I think this is a piece of that original puzzle that ended up changing, obviously, down the line.
100%. And what's fun is now we get our Pat Beaven mention. Well, Miss K. She wasn't necessarily
Miss
cast
K.
as Pat Beaven yet, but
She was a cat, says Peppa. Okay.
she wasn't cast as Pat Beaven yet. They look so alike.
They look so nice.
in this next in the next paragraph it says Stephanie's only concern is her mother, and initially Miss K is reluctant to let her daughter go out alone on a date, but an eloquent speech prepared with the assistance of Arthur for a price helps change her mind. I love that we got a little bit more Arthur and Stephanie in that. I would love to hear that speech of, Mom, I really want to go out with this boy.
That's very interesting that in this version she isn't hiding the fact that she's going on a date. And I like that she gets Arthur involved in that too. I think that's very cute. I liked the moments that we got in the actual episode of their siblingship, but I would have loved to see this. Arthur did say that he was the best speechwriter. What was it? And in his fifth grade
Oh
class.
yes.
So that would be a nice continuation of that character trait for him. That he's a little speechwriter. He
That is
helps people out.
so cute. Miss Gonzalez at Degrassi
Yeah.
Elementary School recognized him. That is so cute. Yeah, I would love to see their little. I would have loved to just see more of them in their home life together,
I
and how
agree.
they deal with living together as two
I
siblings who
did
don't talk at school.
I did love in the episode, the actual episode itself, how much we got of them at home because we don't
Mhm.
typically see Degrassi characters at home in their family dynamics since the show is not focused on home and family dynamics as much. But I really enjoyed it in this episode, like seeing them at the breakfast table, dinner table, all that kind of stuff was really cute and informed the characters very nicely for me.
So cute, and I love they really get that, like, that thing that you have with siblings where sometimes you have to band together to be completely on each other's side so you can get a little bit of what you want, but then also you hate each other most of the time and you're fighting with each other. So I think they really captured that moment of, like, when you come together and your parents are like, "Oh, okay, they're getting along, I guess we'll do this," but it's, like, very maliciously, like, "We just wanna get what we want, so we'll both play into this thing together."
Yeah, Miss K is like, oh my gosh, my children are being so well behaved. And secretly, it's just
Yeah,
because they're just having their own quiet mischief in the corner.
exactly, they wanna do their own thing. Alright, do we wanna continue on?
Yes, let's go. Let's keep going.
All right. Best of all, her mom's going out on a date that evening, too. So Stephanie doesn't have to worry about where to change into her school clothes. Her mother doesn't know about the image her sweet, young, knee socked daughter has fostered at school. So that's very consistent, which we
Yep.
like. The date confirmed Stephanie is oh. The date confirmed. Stephanie is ecstatic. All the girls are impressed too. Stephanie tries to play it cool, brags that it's no big deal. It's only a date. It's not like she's marrying the guy. She claims to be an old pro at dates, talks about the one she's had during the summer before. Actually, she's never been on a date alone before, but who's to know, except Arthur, and he keeps his mouth shut. That's, I think, very on brand with Stephanie
Yes.
to be like, who cares? Meanwhile, she's like clamoring and nervous. I'm like, oh my God, what's going on?
Yes, very much so.
To questions about what happens on a date, she's both evasive and suggestive. She implies she's gone pretty far. Necking? Oh, that's okay. But other stuff is fun too. Dot, dot, dot. Joey learns
Necking,
what's.
wait,
Oh,
can I
so go
ask a
ahead.
question? Is necking making out?
I have never understood what necking is. I literally just imagine two teenagers rubbing their necks together every time someone says that.
Yeah, I imagine like I just want to Google it really quickly. I just want to
I wonder
sidebar.
what era it came from. Like, was this a popular term for like Stephanie Kaye's age, or was this like the person who's writing the outline?
It feels very like I feel like I've heard people saying that in like 50s, 60s. It feels
Yeah.
a little. It feels writer like the writer. Okay,
Necking.
so necking. Okay, so to me, yeah, necking. I imagine like people like making out in a car, like that very like fake, like looking
Yeah.
like you're kissing. Like that's what I always imagine when somebody says necking. Google says kissing, caressing, and other spicy activity between partners that does not involve stimulate. I'm not gonna
Oh my
does not
God.
involve stimulation anyway. But okay, so necking is making out basically. I was correct.
So
Okay, we can
weird. Necking.
necking. That's just such an
Thank
interesting
you.
term.
Thank you
Thank
for a
you.
deep dive into necking. I literally just imagine people rubbing their necks together, which I know it's not that, but that's just what
That
comes to mind. Not
right? Yeah.
stimulation.
Not well. Yeah, stimulating your neck. Anyway.
Oh my gosh. Okay, let's see what Joey and Stephanie are up to now.
Okay.
Joey learns what Stephanie is saying about their date and he starts to feel nervous. Will he be able to live up to expectations? What if she expects him to, do something? What do you do? He too starts to brag about all of his experience, and just in case, Joey goes to check out condoms for the occasion, reveling in the admiration of his buddies who accompanied him to the drugstore. Joey boasts about his upcoming conquests. So on brand for Joey to be so,
Yes.
so nervous, but be like similar to Stephanie, be like, I got this. This is no big deal. Let's just go get some condoms, dudes.
Yeah, I love that, and it very much gives Ashley and Jimmy
Oh, yeah.
in the plot line where they're both like, "Oh yeah, I'm ready. Like I'm getting condoms, all that kind of stuff," and they're both just little scared children. So I love that aspect of reality of trying to grow
I
up a
agree.
little too fast.
I really think because the head writer of this era of the show and the head writer of, or a writer of that era of the show were the same person, I really feel like he took a lot of the same little nuggets and was like, let's expand. Because Degrassi Next Generation really is, to me, what if Degrassi Junior High was set in 2001 with computers? And it really
Yeah,
does feel like a lot of the same plots. And it really goes to show you how much teen issues do not change. It's just the world around them that's constantly evolving. And I think that's a perfect example of that. Sidebar for a second though, every time I watch that episode, I feel like I'm like brought back, like I'm taken out of it a little bit because I always am shocked that Ashley was able to order
condom
condoms
delivery.
online.
Yeah.
It feels so like now, and I'm like shocked that this guy pulled
Well,
up on a bike and gave this girl condoms.
even now when my Amazon delivery comes like the next day, I'm like, that's a little too fast. And that was like 20
Yeah,
years ago that she ordered it and it came like the next day. I'm
yeah.
like, no.
Crazy. Okay, so here's where we just left off. Joey boasts about his upcoming conquest. Overhearing, this is Stephanie's mom, Mrs. K, who works at the drugstore. Fortunately, no names are mentioned. Joey chickens out before actually buying the condoms, but Miss K embarrasses him by giving him some pamphlets on family planning. So that's all the same at this part.
Yeah, that's what happens to wheels.
When she gets home, Mrs. K tells her daughter about the incident. Why the boy couldn't have been much older than Stephanie. Thank goodness she isn't doing that sort of thing. Going for brownie points, Stephanie agrees that yes, it is shocking. Dressed and ready to go, Stephanie waits nervously in her room. Her mom wants to see what her young baby looks like before her first big date, but Stephanie claims she's not ready yet. Okay, this is an interesting dynamic that Miss K, Pat Beaven, is so aware of the date and
Yeah.
going for it.
But why can't she just like Stephanie Kaye it and I guess because she can't like bring a backpack. I don't know why can't she just get dressed normally if her mom wants to see her?
Yeah,
This like tension. She can put a
interesting.
jacket on. I believe it. Yeah, but it's very interesting to imagine like her mom being very aware and like invested in the date versus what actually happens, which is Stephanie being much more sneaky.
Yeah. Let's see what else happens.
Yep.
Stephanie is starting to panic. Whatever happens, she can't let her mom see her in her makeup and date clothes. Her split second timing is being unsplit. Why is her mom's date late? Aren't adults supposed to be punctual? Arthur, again for a price, covers for her and tries to hurry their mom out of the house. Yeah, I totally agree. Stephanie should have been a little more clever in getting ready for her date.
And
She's smarter
just
than that.
put a jacket on. Like just wait to put the rest of your makeup on until
Yeah.
you're it's like you've been doing this at school every single day.
Yeah, you've got
Why are
this
you
down, girl.
stressful?
You're
Okay.
right, but she's an icon. She's the moment, so no
She
hate
is
for
an
Stephanie
icon.
Kaye.
She is the original Ali Bandari.
She is. Arthur almost succeeds. Their mom's date is waiting outside in his car. Miss Kay is checking herself one last time in the mirror when Joey arrives, gallantly bearing flowers, which he stole from someone's garden on the
That
way
is
over.
so
Okay,
Joey
that is
Core.
so Joey Court. Joey is shocked to see Arthur. He didn't know he was Stephanie's sister, but Joey isn't nearly as shocked as Miss Kay is when, despite Arthur's efforts, she sees who her daughter's date is. So we still get that big shocking moment. He's the guy who
Yeah.
bought condoms. I am shocked that at this point, though, wait, have they had a conversation about? Oh no, she says you're not the kind of girl who would do that. But I really feel like that moment is so poignant in the show of when she sits down with Stephanie and Arthur to be like, hey, like we should talk about family planning. I feel like that really elevated the episode in the final product.
Yeah, I feel like at least in this outline, it felt like much more of just like a little footnote rather than
Yeah,
a
like
big moment where they're like sitting down and having a conversation, and Stephanie is having that like emotional turmoil of like having to ask for. Because yeah, that's interesting.
yeah, and
That moment is really lost.
it feels so on brand for her character to be a pharmacist and like see that this young kid has done this and then go home to her kids and be like, we really should talk about this now. Like now that Stephanie's starting to go on dates and stuff, we really
Yeah.
should talk about this. And I love the discomfort of at the table of like, this is a conversation that's so important, but it's always so awkward on both ends. And the kids really play that up of like, oh my God, she's talking to us about sex. This is crazy.
Well, and something that we haven't noted yet that is interesting is that we don't see the Arthur plot. We're not seeing the
Yeah.
Arthur plot here. It's not in here. So Arthur is just kind of like a background character in Stephanie's story instead of
Yeah, you're so right.
Miss Kay talking to both of the kids and having that, and since both of them are having a moment of being like curious about sex in their own way.
Yeah.
Miss Kay, it's just like about her seeing Joey rather than, yeah, I don't know. Like, I think
Yeah.
the episode was a lot better developed later on, and what was on the screen ended up being a lot more like whole, obviously,
A
because
lot.
this is a planning document versus an actual episode of a TV show. But like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. But the layers are all really there and spelled out in the TV show between
I
the
agree.
Stephanie and Joey and Arthur and Yick and Miss Kay and
And
her
Wheels,
boyfriend.
yeah,
Yeah. Oh yeah, sorry, yeah, Wheels. Now I live in this reality where this
where
happened.
it's Joey.
Where it's
I
Joey.
do
Okay.
wait. I do want to note that I do think it's a better payoff for Joey to come to the house and discover the Arthur being Stephanie's brother thing instead of Wheels. Like Wheels, I don't think really cares that much.
There's more stakes with it being Joey.
Exactly, Joey. Yeah, because Joey's been like actively bullying Wheels, or Joey's been actively bullying Wheels. Joey's been actively bullying Arthur versus like it's just Wheels just not knowing. Like Wheels
Yeah,
is Joey's friend, but he's not like, I don't feel like he has as much of like an active relationship with Arthur as Joey does.
I agree. And I
So
feel like Wheels isn't really gonna like do much with that information where I think like Joey would like make it a very poignant thing to tell everybody and maybe even
yeah,
like change his relationship with Arthur either to suck up to him more. Like, hey Artie, like we should become friends. We can try to
yeah,
like
my
hang out with Stephanie
brother-in-law,
more.
like, hey, what's up?
Yeah.
Yeah, but for
So
Wheels, it's not that much of a revel. It's just like, oh, I didn't know that that was your brother. It's not like
yeah,
this big like mind blown moment that I feel like
I
it kind of
agree.
would have been more with Joey.
I totally agree.
Okay.
All right.
Going.
When Miss Kaye goes out to explain to her own date that their evening will have to be postponed, Joey tries to apologize to Stephanie, but she gives him a royal tongue lashing, telling him exactly what his talk has done to her. He protests that she was the one who initiated the talk, not him. She denies this. The discussion becomes a fight, which becomes an argument, and they both swear to never have anything more to do with each other. Okay, so then I think my point about Arthur means he would actually probably bully Arthur even more. But interesting that they have that little device, because I was like, why would they have him pull up? It was so much cooler to have them both at the same door, but that makes sense. They want to get rid of her for a little bit to have this moment.
Yeah.
Yeah. When Miss Kaye returns, prepared to throw young Joey out of her house, he proves very cooperative. Miss Kaye prepares to have a talk with her daughter. Stephanie is hard pressed to persuade her mom that she's never even come close to having done anything. A nice little foil to earlier at school. She was like, this is a no big deal. At school on Monday, Stephanie and Joey pretend the date was a success and everyone buys their story. But as Joey and Stephanie look at each other in class, they are, and we know what really happened. ...
That is the original planning document for Best Laid Plans. So that is
Which-
originally what they thought they were going to do with this plot line.
Which sets up I'm actually curious as to when they do hook up, or if maybe that was going to happen in some other planning document. But between now and It's Late, they were going to hook up and she was going to get pregnant. Maybe it probably happened at It's Late, actually. I think it probably at the party. Probably the same thing.
What party?
Oh, I forgot. You don't know. I don't forgot. No spoilers.
What party?
There is no party in Degrassi ever. I actually just made that up. But I do think it makes sense that that is the setup, that finally, like, in It's Late, they'll have their moment. But we won't talk more about that because you're not there yet. When you get to It's Late, have me in for a segment. We'll talk a little bit about it.
You are actually my scheduled guest for It's Late, so that works out better.
Oh, I love that. Oh, yeah. I was like, I want that one.
Claimed it. Yeah, you already claimed it.
I did.
Yeah, so that's the original Best Laid Plans for Best Laid Plans.
Was that the best laid plan, though? I like
That
the
was
Wheels
not the
one.
Best Laid Plan, TBH.
Like
that was a good laid plan, but like that was Plan A. Wait, is Plan A? That's the good one. I was trying to. Okay, that was the first. That was the first pancake.
That was the first pancake. That was the first pancake. That was good. That was definitely interesting. It's definitely interesting to know what they were kind of like trying to do with this season. But I do think that what I don't love about this one is that Joey and Stephanie are so similar that I feel like when you have Wheels, he's kind of being pressured by Joey. He doesn't really like want to like go that far. And you have him like have that moment with his dad. I think it really changes the dynamic to have two different kind of sides of like someone who's trying to be popular and be like, oh yeah, it's no big deal. And Wheels who's kind of like, well, I don't like really want to do that. Like, I don't like, I have to talk about this and find out information and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I feel like they are very much two sides of the same coin, and it doesn't create that much. I mean, it does create conflict, but it's more interesting conflict, I feel like, when characters are very different from one another, which I feel like Wheels and Stephanie definitely have a lot of differences.
I brought something else with me today from the archives that we found, which was the note where they do say that this is a date that's happening between Stephanie and Derek. Would you like me to read it for you?
Yeah, let's hear it.
So there was basically a binder with all the episodes for season 1 in it, and they kind of just had like 3 or 4 sentences about what the episodes were going to be about. And it feels like now it's like the next step. Like now they've decided what their episodes are going to be. And this is a way for the writers to know like what exactly the order of the episodes are and everything. So this is now they've decided that nope, it should actually be Wheels who's doing this. And it says this: the best laid plans. Stephanie and Derek's big date is ruined when, to impress his friends, Derek boasts imaginatively about his prowess and experience as a Casanova. What he doesn't know is that he's being overheard by Stephanie's mother. So it really is that middle step between the first plot line with Joey being Casanova, now Wheels is the Casanova, to know now Wheels is kind of feeling nervous about this kind of thing.
Yeah, I feel like it's interesting. They kind of transferred that like Casanova energy onto Stephanie a little bit, of her kind of bragging about what she's done and her experience and all that kind of stuff, and like building herself up as this person who has done things versus I feel like because that fits her personality more. Maybe I can see because Stephanie and Joey are very similar. They kind of say, okay, actually, no, Stephanie kind of has more of those traits instead, because they originally kind of just applied it to Wheels because he was the male character, and then they kind of realized which character like regardless of gender, which character actually suited that archetype better, and it ended up being Stephanie.
Yeah, and I think it turned out so much better. I love the final product so much. It's such a standout classic episode for them.
I agree. I love, yeah, they kind of subverted gender stereotypes in terms of having Stephanie be the one who was like boasting about her experience. Even though
100%.
they're both little babies and they don't know what they're doing or what they're talking about at
They're
all.
just little wheels.
Little,
Evie, one thing that's nuts is I have even more for you.
I know we do. We have some stuff from the Degrassi Junior High Bible, correct?
We do. We have specifically for this, well, we have the whole Bible, but for
Yeah.
this episode, we think it would be really fun to just look at the part on how they describe how adults are a part of the show. And they specifically give us a little bit of information about Miss K. Do you want to get into it?
Yeah, let's get into it. Okay, so this is about how Degrassi Junior High handles adults. Degrassi Junior High is about kids. The adults are interesting, rounded, consistent characters with personal histories, but their private lives will remain private, except insofar as they affect a kid's life in the particular episode. Kids do grow and learn from their discoveries about adults. If we do ever do an episode about someone's parents splitting up, we won't deal with the parents' individual differences in their fights unless the kid overhears the fight. And then we're less interested in the fighters than in how the kid deals with hearing his kids screaming at each other. At the end of the story, the parents may have realized they've been ignoring the effect of the breakup on their kid, but it's more important that the kid has come to some sort of understanding of his new situation. So I feel like that's very interesting in regards to Stephanie and Arthur, who have divorced parents, and we see a little bit of their interior lives in this episode. Although we don't really see how the divorce affects them as much. What were you gonna say?
Right. I was going to say, I think this is why Degrassi works, is because in
Yes,
Degrassi Junior High, they sat down and said, hey, these are what our rules are. And they do follow these rules in the Kids of Degrassi Street as well. Everything is from the kids' point of view. But the fact that this is still the rule, even in Degrassi Next Class, I think truly is why Degrassi is a show that can continue on and on and on forever.
I agree. And then there's another segment about how the show handles teachers. I'm going to keep going with that. If we do an episode about a teacher with a drinking problem, the story can't go home with the teacher, showing him downing vodka and then immediately pouring himself another. We can't show flashbacks of the disintegrating marriage that led to his problem. What we can show is how the kids learn about the problem, how they're affected by it, what they think and say about it, how they deal with it. If it's important to know what a teacher like Mr. Radich thinks of a student like Jason, we can't go to the teacher's room to hear Radich telling another teacher his opinions. But we can have a student overhear Mr. Radich making his comments to a teacher in the hall. In short, we'll never be told any more about the adults than the kids know.
I love
So
that. And I think that
I love
in this
that.
document, that is heavily underlined. And I think that is really the key point of the show. Like, that's one of the key values is what the kids know, we know.
I agree. It's from the kid's perspective, and I think that's very important.
I
This
agree.
next part, our adults are never malevolent, but they're flawed to various degrees. They have their own lives, their own problems, besides their kids or students. Sometimes they're busy with these problems and they make mistakes. They're certainly not perfect. Our adults can help kids think things through. Some adults can be some adults can be mentor figures, but they never solve the problems for the kids.
I love that. And I do think that's what Miss K is in this. She is a mentor and giving them pamphlets about sex and talking to them about things, but she's not actually solving anything for them.
I think that this perfectly sums up the way that Degrassi handles adults and kids. And I think it's why Degrassi is so successful because it really sees things through the lens of the child, which is important.
Exactly. And in this Bible, they actually, a few pages later, they give us a summary about some of the parents. And it specifically says parents are to be developed in conjunction with the producers and the story editor as the need arises. However, we do know some things about some of them. And here's to recap a little. And they do give a paragraph about Stephanie's parents. So here's what it says. Stephanie and Arthur's parents are divorced. It was a marriage that was doomed to fail from the beginning. Mother, a pharmacist, believes in order, neatness, and rules, while the father, a postman, has philosophical, carefree, whimsical streak.
That's
When they
you.
lived together, that is me, I love him. When they lived together, he often forgot to pay the bills, and the collection agencies were always turning up. It drove the mother crazy. Towards the end, the house would echo with noise of their fighting. The divorce was messy. The kids were as much relieved as anything when it was over. Stephanie stayed with her mom in the house while Arthur went to live with his dad. The parents wisely stay away from one another now, but there's still some lingering bitterness, and sometimes they compete for their kids' affections. I love this because we both went to film school, so we understand that even though this isn't we don't see this in the show. We don't necessarily learn this in the show. When you give the writers a baseline of what their relationship is like, it makes it easier to write for them and it makes it cohesive. So if you write this episode and write an episode a year from now, we have this same baseline of where have their parents kind of started with their divorce.
Yeah, and like where are they going to come from emotionally, and what how Arthur and Stephanie are going to respond based on the things that they've experienced and witnessed.
Yeah, and sharing that same feeling of, like, we are relieved when this is over together, that's something that even though they are 2 completely different characters with 2 different things going on in their lives, it is a thing that they connect over is, gosh, we just both feel so relieved when our parents stop fighting with each other.
I agree, and I think there's some interesting dynamic or something to be said or noticed in Arthur wanting so badly to like cling on to and claim Stephanie and not have that separation when
Mm,
they've already experienced so much separation in their home, like him not wanting like feeling kind of betrayed in a way by Stephanie separating herself at school.
100%. It'll also be interesting because this episode, um, the idea that I get from this episode and this Bible is that Arthur's, he's visiting his mom's house. So I'm curious to know if we'll ever really see Stephanie visit her dad's house in the series.
I feel like you know the answer to that, but I don't know the answer to that, and I'm very curious to know. Yeah, I'm curious to know if we ever meet the dad.
That's what I'm gonna ask you. Do you think that at any point we meet the dad or
I
or
don't
see
feel
Arthur
like
and Stephanie there?
I don't feel like we do, but
Okay.
I could be wrong. I feel like it was already shocking to go home with Stephanie and Arthur at their mom's house for me because
Mhm.
I feel like Degrassi doesn't do that very often. Although we've already seen like Joey at home in Degrassi Junior High, so and we've seen Rick at home, so maybe
Um, Vula?
Vula. Oh my gosh, we've seen everybody at home.
And we
Yeah,
have we seen Lucy at home yet? That but
we've
not for
seen
you.
not with her parents. We've seen
Right.
her.
But that is
Um,
a part of her home life is the fact that her parents are not there.
that's true. So
So you're
that's
wrong.
interesting because I'm wrong. But in Degrassi: The Next Generation, we really don't get the home lives as much.
Mhm.
So I'm thinking of that. I'm wrong
No,
though.
I
I
think
am wrong.
no, 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 but I do think that is kind of the spirit of Degrassi is I mean, one of the rules that we'll later learn when we dive through this Bible more is that, a kid's life is mostly spent at school, and that is echoed in the Bible of you can't have a bunch of episodes or like a whole series set at home. It has to be predominantly at school, and then the kids do go home sometimes, which we see a nice ratio of majoritively at school, and then okay, well, some of these things happen at home.
In these episodes, I just feel like there has been a lot more home life than
Yeah.
I'm used to in Degrassi, like consistently in Degrassi Junior High. So I'm here for it, but I
Yeah.
still, to your original question, I don't feel like we're gonna see Stephanie and Arthur's dad or Stephanie and Arthur at their dad's house. But I could be wrong. I
Do you think Stephanie has any type of relationship in this series? Outside, of course, like she's crushing right now. But do you think she ends up in a relationship?
I don't think so because
Yeah.
I don't feel like there's like a main like because and honestly a lot of my like knowledge from of like shows that I haven't watched in general, not just Degrassi Junior High, is seeing people talking about like certain ships, and I feel like I've never seen anybody talk about Stephanie with anybody else. I don't have any like outside context, and I
Interesting.
don't see her with any of the main guys. Like I know she's not going to get with Joey. She's not going to get with Snake. She's not going to get with we. I feel like this is kind of the most that things go with Wheels. I feel like that candle kind of burned out a little bit.
I
Um,
agree. I think Stephanie seems like the kind of girl who would have like a boyfriend in high school that goes to a different school.
yeah, or like she would date like a yeah. Oh yeah, no, they're in middle school, so yeah, a boyfriend in high school. Yeah, I was gonna
Yeah.
say a boyfriend in college, but yeah, she would be the girl in high school that would be dating a guy that's in college. But
Yeah. And be like, oh, the guys at Degrassi, like they're just not worth it here.
they're
They're just
just
not good enough.
boys.
Yeah.
Like I date
I want it.
men.
I date
Who did
men.
somebody on Degrassi say that?
I feel
I
like
feel like
someone must have because that both came to our minds immediately.
I date men. I don't date boys.
Mm.
That's definitely a line in some teen show, if not Degrassi. That's
I
gonna
feel like
bug
it
me
is a
now.
Stephanie line. We're gonna be so
That is
embarrassed when we realize what it is.
we're like,
We're
wow,
gonna be like,
that's
"Oh,
so
duh."
Stephanie Kaye core, and then it's literally like a Stephanie Kaye quote.
like,
Your
recently
Neopets are
you
so you. You
yeah,
score.
recently Evie designed something and I was like, this is so you coded. And she's like, yeah, I made it. I was like, okay, fine
Yeah,
then. Anyway, okay, we're gonna get way off track if we start talking about our personal lives. We do think we are some of Degrassi's biggest fans, though we don't know if Stephanie said this quote that's very Stephanie coded. And Evie thinks that they never go home with the kids on Degrassi.
they
Thank you
don't.
for
They
listening to
never
two of Degrassi's
go.
biggest fans talk about
We
this
are.
show.
We love Degrassi so much, but also we know nothing about it. So that's
It gives a
cool.
chance for our audience or your audience to be interactive and fill in the gaps
Yeah,
of when we
tell
get
us
it wrong.
we're wrong because we
Yeah.
probably are a lot of the, well, not a lot of the time. I would
We're not
say
actually wrong. This is actually just clickbait. You know when people intentionally make
it's rage
spelling
baiting.
mistakes? Yeah,
It's rage
yeah, but we
baiting.
but we actually do know. No, we
We're
don't.
just
Okay,
we're
remember.
just trying to be humble, and
Yeah.
we don't want to seem like we know too much, so we're actually just like we
Yeah.
want to be relatable, you know. We want to make
Exactly.
mistakes.
Exactly. We're Degrassi fans just like you.
We are. We're people too. We're humans.
Okay,
Okay.
Evie.
I feel like we got some good stuff out there. I love talking about these standing documents and the Bible and all of this interesting stuff that we found at the archives because it's stuff that has like pretty much never been seen or known before. It's not publicly available on the internet. You can go to Toronto and request access and go see it yourself technically, but otherwise it's not really stuff that anybody can just know. So it's really
You
cool to
can't
be
just
able to
Google
share
it.
that. You can't Google it, and the Degrassi Wiki and IMDb and all that kind of stuff does not have this information yet. If you want to add it, if you want to add it, please please
I
credit us.
I am on the Wikipedia page for It's Late because my podcast was credited from information I got from the archives. So that
Yeah,
was
so
cool.
like I'm sorry, I'm not putting this information on the Degrassi Wiki most likely, but if you would like to, dear
Please, I would feel
listener,
so
please
cool. Both
do,
of
and
us.
please cite your sources. But yeah,
The
otherwise,
source isn't us, it's the archive, but
but
you can
we
cite us
are,
as the vessel.
yeah, we are the vessel. And I love that we are the vessel, and I love that we're able to share this information with people. Like all jokes aside, it is so
Yeah.
cool. It is so cool to learn this stuff. It was so cool to see this stuff in real life, and it's so cool to make this information accessible to fellow Degrassi fans.
100%. Us having this like really vast knowledge of the show and the context and getting it to do through a lens like this beat by beat where we get to go through the episodes like you're going through because we have so much. There's so much more stuff that we've learned and I'm very excited to hop on and do these with you and talk
Yeah,
about what we've learned and how it could change the show and I love being a vessel with you, Evie.
I love being a vessel with you too. Yeah, I love um, being able to change people's perspective on the show that they feel like they know. Like I know that some people who listen to both of our podcasts have listened to or have watched the show for most of their lives and feel like they know everything about it. But this is new. This is fresh information and it's really cool and valuable to share it with everybody. For me, I don't know Degrassi Junior High. This is me experiencing it for the first time. So I have no idea what it would be like to know these episodes for years or decades and then find out this new information about it. And that's very fascinating for me. So I'm very glad to be able to share that.
I love that. Me too. Evie, thank you so much for having me on the Degrassi Schools in podcast. I had a great time with you.
I'm glad to have had you. I love being able to have you on to chat about Degrassi.
Me too.
Is there anything that you want to promote? I know most people know who you are, but is there anything specifically that you want to like raise up right now?
One thing that's very exciting is that April is the 2-year anniversary of the Degrassi Kid podcast. I'm very excited to hop on some podcasts like Evie's. I'll be on some other fan podcasts this month and basically just keep up with some stuff in the Degrassi Kid world, and every day will be fun. I guarantee it.
I love that. And one thing that you have been doing and I have also been doing for, I think it's been like 10 or 11 weeks at this point of the year,
12
12 weeks.
weeks.
We have gone live on TikTok every single week
It's been amazing.
together.
We play games. We talk to Degrassi fans. We have Degrassi fans join actors join us sometimes, which is
I was
wild.
gonna say we not only have Degrassi fans, we have also had, and this is some bonus content that will be coming out on your podcast feed and your Patreon at some point soon. I just want to tease it really quickly. On our TikTok lives that we do every week, we did have a Degrassi actor come on live with us. I will leave it
Wild.
a secret for somebody. Well, you'll see soon when that bonus content comes out if you weren't there. But Yeah, it's amazing. It's so fun. And we do that. We've been doing it Tuesdays or Thursdays, but we have officially decided that Tuesday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern are going to be our nights for TikTok Live. So if you want to come hang out with us, I am at Evie Pacini on TikTok, and Degrassi Kid is at Degrassi_Kid, correct?
That's me every Tuesday, 9 p.m. Eastern, hanging out on
That
TikTok Live.
come hang out with us. But yeah, I think that is our episode, and I appreciate you so much, Jocelyn, for coming around.
We crushed it as normal. Thanks so much
We
for having me,
crushed
Evie.
it. All right. Do you wanna say bye to the Panthers with me?
I do.
All right. Bye, Panthers.
Bye, Panthers.
Do, 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 do. Oh wait, that's the Next Generation theme song. Was it?
Do,
What is my?
do, 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 do.
Okay.